Nilipokuwa nimemtuma sokoni kununua sukari, akapatikana na mtu mmoja ambaye miaka 32, akashika na akamfungia tu kwa nyumba na akamrape.
Baada ya kunitoa nje, I was raped na watu wawili mpaka nikakuwa unconscious, nikazimia.
Viva comrades, viva! Viva! More power to women, more power! More power! Forward with social justice, forward! Forward!
In our culture, kama mama ungeweza kujitokeza na kusema wewe umeweza kurepiwa ama mtoto ameweza kudivailiwa.
In the quiet hills of Chepkurkur village, Bungoma County, a seemingly peaceful community is grappling with a dark reality, an alarming surge in sexual gender-based violence, where victims, often silenced by societal norms and stigma, are left to bear the burden of their pain alone.
There are some cases that have gone to courts and then the child disappears. When you do more research, you realize that this family went and gave that family some cash, and the child will never be appear. So as long as the victim is not in court to testify, the case goes nowhere.
Women huddled in small groups at Kopsero Shopping Center on slopes of Mount Elgon, where discussions on sexual gender-based violence are never debated in public. Chebet, a pseudonym used to protect her identity, shares the harrowing experience of her 15-year-old daughter.
Mimi ni mama mwadhiriwa ambaye nilizaa watoto ambaye wasikii, watoto 4, halafu mmoja ni msichana. Nilikuwa namtegemea huyo msichana nikimtuma baada ya kukosa school fees kwenda shuleni. Nilipokuwa nimemtuma sokoni kununua sukari, aliporudi akapatikana na mtu mmoja ambaye miaka 32, akashika na akamfungia tu kwa nyumba na akamrape. Ni community walipika simu. Waliona kama mtoto anashikwa akifuruta yani akipika yowe ya kisiwa anafanya ila alifurutia chini mpaka kwa nyumba hivyo. Kijiji wakawana wakanipikia simu, na nilipochukua hatua nikakimbia mpaka kwa hiyo poma. Hakika nilipata mimi mwenyewe really niliathirika kuanzia siku hiyo kimawazo. Bado anakopa saa hiyo ukituma mahali atoki kwa poma, yani angali anajua nikitoka nitashikwa na mtu mwingine. Mimi kama msasi, mtoto wangu apata haki, na kupitia kwa hiyo haki ili community wote wajue ya kwamba hatutanyamasia mambo kama hiyo.
Ilikuwa tarehe 13 tena at around 1 am usiku, au perpetrators wakarudi wakanipiga sana. Walinipiga na walikuwa wananigonga na hiyo mabunduki. Baada ya kunitoa nje, I was raped na watu wawili. I was raped mpaka nikakuwa unconscious, nikazimia. Siku hiyo hao watu walirape in my area, walirape mama karibu 8 baada ya kukuwa raped. Up to date, mimi I'm 41 years, lakini sijakuwa na interest tena kukuwa na mwanaume mwingine. Though nimepitia counseling mingi, wameniambia hata na ukiona wanaume wenye umesimama nao kama nyinyi saizi, naona just like men, but sioni kama naweza relate mpaka tukae naye kwa nyumba moja.
This heartbreaking story is not isolated. It echoes throughout Bungoma County, where a shocking 62% of women have reported physical violence and 30% have experienced sexual violence, as per the Kenya Demographic Health Survey of 2022.
The case of teenage pregnancies, if you see the status of our county, 2023 alone, from January to July, Between the age of 10 to 14, we have recorded cases of 196. Between the ages of 15 to 19, we have 7,270. We still rate highly in terms of GBV, teenage pregnancies, and I want to cite the issue of poverty as one of the key reasons why these cases continue escalating.
The county recorded 2,405 cases of gender-based violence among individuals aged 10 to 17 years in 2022, representing an increase compared to the 1,127 cases recorded in 2021. The dark reality is reflected in the numbers. Bungoma County has sexual gender-based violence prevalence of 23% against the national prevalence of 13%, with Kimilili, Mount Elgon and Bumula constituencies listed as hotspots for sexual gender-based violence.
We don't have facilities where we can have those who have been rescued, because we realize once they are released, they go back, the matter is compromised, their parents are compromised, and we lose things because we've not had a period to assess these children, so, and monitoring purposes. So what we are saying, there is need to have facilities to address for safe homes for the victims of these crimes, so that we have time to monitor them. They are not, the government will own it, and nobody will interfere until the matter is concluded.
This year I've had 2 cases. Even one lady said the husband did beat her until she aborted. But when we told her to press charges, she did not.
The gravity of the situation extends beyond Bungoma. Vihiga County, just 2 hours away, grappling with its own crisis.
Serikali iangalie kipengele cha hawa watu wenye wanadefile watoto. Isichukue muda mrefu sana, because sometimes unachukua mtoto, unaona kama saizi nimekaa hapa na mtoto for over 7 months sasa. Bado tu tunaenda kotini, mention perpetrator. Hata kuna wale wenye wanaachiliwa on bond, and you see it is also risky. It's not safe on my side.
In the past, there have been several cases of gender-based violence, but there was no much input about them until a team was made to be coordinating gender-based violence in all the facilities in this sub-county. And every facility has a gender-based focal person. Roughly, we are getting between 10 to 20 cases per month. We have like 10 surrounding schools, majorly day schools. And out of these 10 surrounding schools, at least 10 are getting pregnant per year. So we are like having 100 teenager deliveries.
Cultural prohibitions against women testifying against family members contribute to unreported cases, fostering a rise in incest and teenage pregnancies.
Utapata ya kuwa wale watoto wananajisiwa na wale watu wanawajua. Either ni mchungaji ng'ombe kwa hiyo boma, ni kijana tu wa hiyo boma, ndugu yake, ni shemeji. So watoto upata kunajisiwa na wale watu wanawafahamu, wanawajua na wanakaa na hao.
When we look at these cultures that pull us down, where people need to sit in kangaroo courts solving problems that are supposed to be taken to court, it ends up denying justice to the victims.
Sana sana wanyore wanaogopa kusimama kotini kudhibitisha wazi kwamba niliona fulani akidefile mtoto wa fulani. They'll never come in court. Mila ya mnyore, ukienda kusimama kotini na mtu na mwini wa jamii moja, then inaonyesha kwamba nursua, it's like sijua, they believe that it's just a misconception. Atumenipeleka kotini kwa hiyo ubao tumeongea na wewe mbele ya magistrate, sasa hatufai kushare chochote pamoja. We should not eat from one pot, neither should we drink from one pot. They will die. Sasa wanaogopa. Mostly they don't come to testify in court. And you see, this is what is delaying most of these cases.
In some instances, other facilities for gathering evidence, like government chemist. Of course, Kisumu, we are lucky. There's a government chemist within. But still, it is serving a large area. Rift Valley and all this region. You know, the Lake Basin. Lake Basin is wide. At the end of the day, we find that we will wait for that evidence for so long until witnesses are tired, witnesses relocate from COVID, for example. That is why we lost even so many of the cases.
A silent epidemic is tearing through the fabrics of families, leaving innocence shattered and justice elusive. In the quiet corners of Lusegeti village, a heartbreaking tale of innocence lost unfolds at the Blessed Heaven Rescue Center. In the midst of pain and vulnerability stands 2-year, 8-month-old Violet, a symbol of resilience and harsh reality faced by the most vulnerable members of this society.
Up to now, hatuja arrested the perpetrator. The girl kana explain, ukikaongelesha kana kueleza vile huyo mtu alikuwa anakaa, vile alimfanyia, lakini hatujawahi arrested the perpetrator. Mama ya huyu mtoto alikuwa ameenda na hata julikananga alienda wapi, akaachia baba watoto wasichana wawili. Hawa wasichana wawili kadogo ndio kalinajisiwa. Licha aka kengine kalikuwa pia kamepata dhuluma za kupigwa.
In Vihiga, cases of incest are alarming high, with the Vihiga Health Center recording 94 gender-based violence cases between March and November of 2023 alone.
Compared to other communities and other places I've worked, Vihiga is very high in incest. Because you get some of them have conceived by incest. And so they want, like this young mother, when she gives birth to this child, the child should never step in that compound. So in the past, the people used to call it their soul, but actually they were being taken to orphanage in Kisumu.
Tragically, justice for Violet remains an elusive dream, obscured by shadows of family secrets. The perpetrator, shielded by familial ties, continues to evade accountability, leaving a young girl's plea for justice unanswered.
At one point, you'd get to a point where this perpetrator is chummed, they have the monies. So someone would tell you either you stop following up on this case or you'll see. And this harassment is not only on you as a human rights defender, it goes even to your family. So when someone tells you, I know where your child schools, then that is a warning sign that you should keep off such a case. So we face this, especially when we are fighting on cases with the perpetrators that are wealthy and they can buy their way out of the corridors of law.
The Kenya Demographic and Health Survey of 2022 paints a disturbing picture, revealing that intimate partners constitute 63% of reported sexual violence cases, while fathers, brothers, and other relatives contribute significantly. In the serene settings of Kisumu County, personal stories unfold, shedding light on the complex web of challenges faced by survivors.
Nilishika mimba, nika drop out of school. Nilikuwa form 2 na nilikuwa nimeishi na aunti yangu. Bahati mbaya nikapatikana tena niko positive. Sasa tena ikakuwa hadithi nyingine. Sasa nikaanza kuwa na stress, ninalia. Ni kama nilikuwa nataka kujiua, nikamwambia mimi nimekuongeza mzigo na mtoto wangu tena niko mgonjwa. Juu baba mtoto pia alikataa, akasema huyo si mtoto wake, yeye amjui. nitafute baba ya mtoto.
Amina, an 11-year-old victim of rape in Kaloleni, faces a justice system tainted by family covering up incidents through informal negotiations.
Hizi kesi za defilement zimekuwa hapo awali zilikuwa ni zinafichwa, hazijitokezi, huwa zinawekwa mara zinapelekwa watu waongee kinyumbani nini, zilikuwa hazijitokezi. Lakini kwa sasa hivi toka tumepata hii ofisi ya Winam Justice hapa Kaloleni, hii ofisi imekuwa ikitusaidia sana. Kesi zenye zimetokea kama hizi za defilement tunazichukua na tunazipeleka mpaka kotini, na watoto wanasaidika, watoto wanapata counseling.
In responding to this urgent situation, the Let It Not Happen Again project, initiated in 2019 by the governments of Italy and Ireland in collaboration with UN Women and the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, has been making strides in preventing and responding to SGBV, particularly violence against women. UN Women, in partnership with the Action Coalition on Gender-Based Violence, are actively working to end violence against women and girls in Kisumu, Vihiga, and Bungoma counties.
And those 3 counties were strategically identified because of the numerous cases of sexual and gender-based violence violations that were reported, especially during elections. So this project came in at the time when we were all preparing for elections, because 2020 was the general election, and it was going to be targeted at duty bearers and right holders. And the idea was to try and see how to build capacity of both, to ensure that we put in place an early warning mechanism, to ensure that communities are aware of what they need to do in the event that there were cases of sexual violence that was reported, because previously we had so many cases that had not been reported because people didn't even know what to do. So there was a lot of losses in between when people were trying to demand for accountability. But then it was to make sure that we had quality service that was given, that the duty bearers also needed to know what they were doing. And when I say duty bearers, I'm literally talking about the justice system. So the police, the judiciary, the Department of Health, that is at the high level. But then at the community level, there was also the need to be able to create a referral pathway that would ensure that community members who were violated in one way or another knew exactly what path to follow when they are pursuing accountability.
The project focuses on community dialogues, capacity building within justice system, and legal reforms to end impunity for perpetrators. The goal is to foster a culture of equality and zero tolerance for violence.
Anyone tell me, when we are doing SOLAR, what are we doing? Yes, Kovia. Okay, SOLAR is an acronym that is used during guiding and counseling session, whereby the counselor sits attentively, both physically and psychologically, while getting the information from the victim.
We are having a training on gender-based violence, but this time round, it is specific on counseling. We realized there was a gap, that we only trained them on how to handle preserve evidence and exhibits, whatever, but we forgot an aspect of the mental health of our client. So now, through the collaborations with the non-government organizations, we've been having this support requests of our trainings to train officers on mental health issues.
The program has trained police officers and established gender desks to enhance coordination, setting up court users committees that brings together the police, judicial officers, civil societies, and medical officers who play a pivotal role in fast-tracking justice for SGBV victims.
We've been doing well in terms of utilizing the court users committees and making sure we get feedback from the committees and go back and improve where we are a bit, sluggishly not, sluggish in performing our work.
With the designation of a SGBV court now, that enables access to justice to be quicker. The number of cases that we have been able to finalize in the recent past has been impressive because of the designation. People come easily and they come feeling protected.
Through the Court Users Committee, justice is fast-tracked for survivors like Amina, Atieno, Chebet and Violet.
Hata mwenye anashughulika juu ya hiyo kesi kwenda kotini kufuatilia ni mimi mwenyewe kama mama. Maana nilijifunza, walinifunza nikajua jinsi ninavyotembea. Kumbe kuficha mambo kama hiyo ni mbaya. Leo hii tunatoa kesa peupe.
We made a lot of trainings with the police and the local administrations to make sure that there is no case that is handed at the community. They take all the cases to the police, and the cases are also taken to the court.
All those suspects and the victims, once the first day they appear before a competent court of law, we want this matter to be addressed on that day, so that we don't create gaps where these people who are used to corrupt others and compromise cases don't get that opportunity.
And again, we also have the sexual gender-based violence policy, the SGBV policy, that we did a review some times back, and we are looking forward to have it as a bill so that we have a clear pathway of implementing the policy. The SGBV policy talks about issues, sexual gender-based violence. How do we handle cases? How do we handle the survivors? How do we handle the perpetrators? How do we come in as a government to ensure that the survivors get their rights? So that policy is also in place, and we are looking forward very soon to have it as a bill so that we can implement it fully.
However, challenges persist with the poverty and negative gender norms identified as root causes.
The challenge of finances, that it's still a big issue to us. The cultural barriers, especially, we have discussed about the cultural beliefs, the patriarchal, it is still a big challenge.
There is a big gap, because if the county could be supporting well, then in Vihiga County we could have a unit for SGBV survivors. As per now, we don't have a county unit for survivors of gender-based violence in Vihiga County. So we have a gap. There is a big gap with the county government.
In the face of diversity, these survivors are not just statistics. They are resilient individuals demanding justice and change. It is a call to action, breaking the silence, breaking the cycle, and breaking free from the shadows of gender-based violence. For KTN News, I'm Levis Msumba.